The first thing that we're going to do is our art talk, and our artist today is a French master photographer and early film pioneer who captured the human condition throughout the world. And he created a new genre of art. I have to say, every time I see one of his pictures, it draws me in. They're incredibly interesting. But without any further ado, I'm going to turn this over to Sarah and let her tell us about our artist today, which is Henri Cartier-Bresson. Sarah, over to you.
Hi, everyone. Yes, so today we're talking about master photojournalist, master photographer, if you want to do it the French way, Henri Cartier-Bresson. So he was born in Chanteloup-en-Brie, France in 1908 and was the oldest of five children. His father was a wealthy manufacturer of textiles, and his mother came from landowners and cotton manufacturers. Actually, a fun fact is that his mother was a descendant of Charlotte Corday, who was a figure in the French Revolution and was executed by guillotine for assassinating a Jacobin leader at the time. So the Cartier-Bressons lived a very bourgeois lifestyle, and his family was able to support him financially while he pursued his passion for photography. He began taking photos as a child on his box Brownie camera, pictured behind me. And he later left his home in 1926 to study at a private art academy in Paris with a Cubist artist, André Lotte. So he studied artists from the old masters to modernist artists at the time, and this inspired him creatively, even though it wasn't directly linked to photography specifically. He really started photography as a way to paint and sketch and draw. It was kind of his the way he took his inspiration to sketch. And then obviously it became, his main artistic medium. But being in Paris in the late 1920s into the 30s, he was introduced to the many creative thinkers and artists in the cafe scene at the time. And he was particularly drawn to surrealists like André Breton, Max Ernst, and Man Ray. However, he took the advice of a friend who said, watch out for labels. They're reassuring, but somebody's going to stick one on you that you'll never get rid of. So in 1932, he bought his first Leica camera, and it was new to the market. And it was a smaller, much more portable camera, which helped facilitate his sort of impromptu style of taking pictures without kind of being intrusive on his subject. He actually covered the shinier silver parts of the camera with black tape to make it even less noticeable when taking pictures. It's even said that he would kind of open the side of his coat and sneak a picture that way to almost hide himself. And this was a technique that led to a combination of both spontaneity and specificity. Sorry, we're going to start with this one. So this is called Place de l'Europe, Gare Saint-Lazare, taken in 1932. And this is one of Cartier-Bresson's most successful images. This was the year he bought his new Leica camera. And this exemplifies kind of what I just mentioned about the portable nature of the Leica camera and how that lent itself to Henri being able to take more instantaneous photos. So this is of a man hopping over a flooded area outside of the Saint-Lazare train station in Paris. And it's just before you can see his heel hits the water. And we can also see a mix of textures in this photo. So there's kind of the hazy building in the background mixed with the spiked fence. And then also we can see this kind of perfect reflection of the man in the water, which really adds to some depth of the photo. And the spontaneity of this photo represents a kind of fast-paced new Paris with new trains, new cars and factories. And it's almost kind of juxtaposed by the fact that this fast-paced moment is forever captured in stillness. And this was kind of the thought process and philosophical way of thinking that Cartier-Bresson aimed to create with his photos. So throughout his career, Cartier-Bresson didn't want to be categorized as a traditional photojournalist. he always wanted his point of view to be in his photos. And his friend and colleague, Robert Capa, who they actually co-founded Magnum Photos together. I believe he was also the one who said the quote about labels before. But he was the one who encouraged Cartier-Bresson to travel to India and focus more on documentary work. And I'll kind of flip through some of the photos of this photo essay called India and the Death of Mahatma Gandhi in 1948. So Cartier-Bresson originally went to India to document the civil unrest happening, the hunger strike that Gandhi was partaking in to protest the violence happening throughout the country. And he really had special, unprecedented access to Gandhi and was able to photograph him up close and interview him up close. Here's another one from the same photo essay. And little did he know that only a day after taking Gandhi's portrait, he would be assassinated. And so Cartier-Bresson kind of found himself in the middle of this major historic event. And he stayed in India and was able to document kind of the next few days. This is obviously the extravagant funeral procession of Gandhi. He documented the cremation of Gandhi and them carrying the ashes to the Ganges. And so this photo essay captured both the significantly historic moment and also the emotional anguish that the country was feeling. Shortly after being in India, he traveled to China in 1948 and 1949 during the civil unrest that occurred during the political transition from the Chinese Nationalist Party to the Communist Party under Mao Zedong. And there was a currency crash and the value of paper money plummeted. So the Kuomintang issued 40 grams of gold per person. And so this image is the crowded line to get gold before the banks closed. And what's so great about this photo is that it's only one section of this crammed line, but it's so easy to imagine the pandemonium that's happening beyond the borders of this image. We're transported into this scene, which goes back to the idea that an image captures an instantaneous moment. And so overall, Henri Cartier-Bresson traveled the world documenting historic moments in India, in China, in Africa. He was also even captured as a prisoner by the Nazis in World War II while taking photos for the United States, actually. And in an interview with Cartier-Bresson, he said that he's not good at documenting and that photojournalism was dull. And subsequently, he's regarded as one of the most influential and highly regarded photojournalists because of his perspective that he includes in his photos. And what makes him so unique is this philosophy that he has towards photography and the fact that you create worlds and transport people to these places through an instantaneous photograph. He's kind of regarded as the father of modern day photojournalism, kind of bringing a more cultivated sense of artistry and the marriage between art and visual documentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah. That was fantastic. I think his artwork is just incredibly interesting, and you know, it just draws you in. You feel like you've got to analyze it just because of the details and the I think the honesty he captures in the pictures.
Absolutely. What I'll do, I'll include a link to a YouTube video that you hear he's speaking on voiceover, and then it kind of slideshows through some of his photos. Some of the ones I showed today are in the video, and it's interesting. It's a little long. It's like 18 minutes, but if you listen just to the first like 3 or 5 minutes, it really exemplifies his philosophy. I think it's interesting. So I'll include the link in the chat right now.
Oh, that'd be fantastic. Thank you for that. That sounds very interesting. Does anybody have any questions for Sarah? Oh, all right. Well, Sarah, thank you again. This was fantastic, as always.
Thank you, everyone. I'll see you next week.